Okay, I'm gonna bring the May, what is it? 19th, or I'm sorry. Like I told you, these glasses are giving me a fit. This is July 18th, not May 19th. But I'd like to bring planning board meeting to order, and if you all will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We've got Jan Collins sitting here as an alternate tonight, so she'll be voting on any action. We've got a change in the agenda. The agenda submitted by Casey Barnell on behalf of Pleasure Palace is not going to be heard tonight. They have hit some roadblocks in their thought process. So I would say we're going to delete that from the agenda, and however they present down the road, I guess, is we'll hear it at a later date, or we may never hear it. Is that right?
That's right. They'll either amended this application or they'll submit a new one.
Okay. All right.
Did they give any indication that they would submit a new one or just,
I hate to say it, but I think so. I think
Okay.
they'll stay the course.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, and I would say when it comes, that we all need to kind of list up what our concerns are. I had a fairly lengthy list.
so
In
did
my
I.
discussions back and forth with Wes. So there's a lot there, even if however they come back with it. It's a ambitious project, and I don't think any of us would be against helping out the cause, but there's a lot there. So anyway, with that, if I can get an approval of an amended agenda motion, I'll entertain that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the deletion under new business of ZTA 2208.
I'll second.
Thank you, Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None seen. Okay, we're at election of officers. I guess, Cliff, I hadn't run this before, but I'll open the floor for nominations for chairman first, and then vice chairman.
I'll nominate Andy Ward for chairman.
I'll second. I'll nominate Tony for vice.
Pardon?
I'll nominate Tony for vice.
I
No,
think
well,
we have to
let's
complete,
vote.
we have to complete
Let's
the,
vote
We
on,
can't do all both things?
let's vote on the,
Both of them.
the bulk vote.
let's vote on the chairmanship first. All in favor of Andy Ward as chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, done. Okay, Linda,
I nominate Tony as the vice.
I will second that.
Tony.
Okay, so Tony's been nominated, and we'll vote on Tony. All in favor of Tony as vice president, raise your hand, say aye. Opposed? None seen.
And I'll take vice chair rather than vice president.
Did I say that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Been
Yeah, or
It
vice,
is.
that's okay also.
These things gotta go. Okay. All right, now on to item 5. Approval of minutes. Did anyone see anything in the minutes that they would like to get switched around.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did somebody else say something?
Linda.
Good.
So,
469, it should be March, not March.
yeah, I got that, page 11.
Yeah.
Are you,
Yes, I got it.
and I've talked to Wes about this. That was one that I saw in there. Did you see another?
No, that's
Yeah, on line 126, it says, in effect, there are a lot of lots. I think plenty of lots would be a more appropriate term rather than a lot of lots.
What, on page 126?
Yeah, no, line 126.
Okay.
I think plenty of lots, and also on 128 going into 129, I would delete to some degree.
Okay, so just scratch some degree.
Yes.
Okay. I had another typo on page 4. Is it line 143? Or that last sentence, or next to last sentence, any lot, it should be in rather than is RS1,
Oh, yes. I missed it.
minor stuff. Now, I did go over another, a little bit more substantial reordering of something with Wes. Do you know anything about that? Well, Wes has the notes. He's going to make the corrections, but I'll go over it with you all. I'll get you pointed in the right direction. If you'll go to line 374, that's where I'm going to start. I'm sorry, 474. Okay, everybody there on,
Mhm.
and I talked to Wes about reordering this because it's not in order the way it actually happened. I went back and watched the YouTube, and it's a little bit out of sequence. Lines 474 through 485 are fine. They're okay. The content of line 493 to 496 would move to line 487 position. I'll say that again. The content of line 493 through 496 will move to the line 487 position. And then the contents of line 487 through 491 will follow that. And then, and this is important for the record, is that also it needs to be added, and Wes has got this, he was wording it, but basically I'm going to paraphrase what his wording will be in the content of 487 through 491 will be to add Mr. Gupta's statement regarding the possibility of working with 50% coverage if the net were taken out. And if you want to look at where that is in our YouTube of that meeting, it's at 2 hours and 14 minutes, I believe, in that area. So Wes is going to add that spot in there. So it is a reordering of the minutes a little bit, just to stay in order of how it occurred that night. So anyway, I guess, Cliff, we're okay with Wes making the amendments. I mean, I think he's squared away with what we're going to do there. I went over all this with him, and we agreed that it needed to be reworked.
I'd keep him draft until you see him the way he writes.
Okay.
If you just put it on August and maybe.
Okay, so just don't vote on approval of the minutes.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, we'll just, is everybody okay with
Yeah.
what that says.
Mhm.
I'll get Wes to clean it up and we'll bring it back and we'll look at it at next month's minutes. Okay, so we won't approve or disapprove of the minutes.
I make a motion to defer approval of the minutes until the next meeting.
Okay, that would be in order. Okay, thank you.
You want me to go?
Sit up here.
Okay.
You'll know better.
That's what you get for being late.
Put his chair in the corner.
Turn around.
You're in timeout.
Okay, Tony's motion was to, go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, I'd like to defer the approval of the minutes for the May 19th, 2022 meeting until our next meeting, which will occur in August.
Okay, motion and a second to not take any action on the minutes tonight. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. All right, public comment. Anybody out there wish to speak, even if you're not signed up? Miss- No. Okay. All right. Well, no public comment, no old business. We don't have the Pledge of Palace CTA on there, so we are going to move on to item B, which is zoning text amendment application submitted by the town to amend multiple articles in Chapter 36 zoning to be consistent with 160D. It's rather lengthy, 137 pages to digest, but I think if you got in there a little bit, you'd see that there were a lot of conditionals scratched out and replaced with special. As far as I can tell, and discussing this with Wes and Cliff, you may jump in here as you see appropriate, but on page 14, that's the largest segment of this ZTA that appears, and that came directly from 160D as far as what the town has to adhere to comply with the statute, state statute. So, I mean, there's nothing in there we're changing. It's got to stay in. The only thing I saw, and I didn't speak with Wes about this when I talked to him Friday, was on page 90, there was one spot down on, let's see, where was that? It was all right, on page 90, under height of group development, residential, height, top plate for single family and townhouse shall be 26 feet. That language should be out of everything, every ordinance in the town. That's been worked on for a while. So if you can make that note to Wes to delete that. I mean, we talked about it before, catching a few top plate things here and there in the zoning ordinance. So that was one
So
thing.
what is it?
It's scratched all the way through.
Yeah.
Everywhere else it's been deleted. Should be no mention of top plate
Right.
anywhere in our ordinance. So it just gets completely deleted. But beyond that, did anybody hear or see anything in this that was cause for alarm?
I didn't.
Mr. Finelli?
I had a question on that whole area of listing everything that's not allowed on page 105. Didn't we have a discussion about produce stands?
Yeah, we did.
And produce stands is on here still as
Yeah.
being not allowed. Should we do anything with that?
I would make note of that, if you would, Cliff, because, yeah, that should be, that was taken out by town council action. John?
Okay, on page 121. Down near the bottom, the second paragraph up. 2B. Starts out by saying the planning board shall review the application for special use permits. I've been told that when we review special use permit, we can make a comment such that we find the recommendations by staff to be reasonable and appropriate. Those are the two key words. But I've been told that we can no longer make recommendations. It's kind of ridiculous, but that came from Dare County Planning Director and Dare County Attorney.
Per 160D requirements.
So that's something you may want to bounce off your town attorney.
We'll circle that, and then Cliff's here in Wes's place tonight, so,
Yeah, I looked at 160D, and there's a paragraph there that, paragraph 604, talks about the planning board review and comment,
uh-huh.
and there's nothing in there about making a recommendation on the special use permit. And then in paragraph 705, where it talks about quasi judicial zoning decisions, which includes an SUP, there's no mention there of that. And I think the rationale was that this is a evidentiary hearing, and as such, recommendations don't have any place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's ridiculous, because the conditional use permit process worked just fine.
Sure.
I don't know why
It-
somebody did this, but
It seems to be more semantics than anything else.
Yes.
Because there is no definition in our zoning ordinance for conditional use. It doesn't exist. So we're defining something that we've always called conditional use, but now it's special use, but there was no definition for conditional use in our zoning ordinance. So we have a definition now, but to your points, John, I think probably need to address that with Wes and get him to advise us on
yeah,
which way to
the
go.
town attorney may have a different opinion.
Yeah.
If you look at in his staff report in the third paragraph, last sentence, like conditional use permits, special use permits require a recommendation from the town planning board. The town council approved following a quasi judicial public hearing. So I guess I'll just have to get it to reconcile that I can't make a recommendation with that statement.
Okay. Well, if it's nothing we can,
Yeah, don't take my word for
Yeah.
it. Your town attorney may have a different opinion on it.
well, I'll definitely mention it to Wes and get his take on it, and if you will, Cliff, that'll get it going both ways.
If you don't make a recommendation, what is the purpose of having a an evidentiary hearing? Because at the end of the evidentiary hearing, you have to voice your findings. And so you just voice your findings now and not make a recommendation?
I had not heard that.
Yeah.
until tonight, so
Mhm.
I'm kind of like you, the point of this is for your review and your recommendation.
Yeah,
So it could be semantics and just words that, I mean, it all comes out as a recommendation.
It's a very uncomfortable motion that we make at the county,
Yeah.
because we make a motion that we find these conditions to be reasonable and appropriate, And here's some other conditions that you may want to consider. But you don't make a formal recommendation. It's hard to put into a motion.
Yeah.
But it's out there. So again, your attorney may have a completely different
I'm
opinion.
still trying to understand why conditional use can't be conditional use, it has to be special use. So
Well, and I guess the bottom line in all of this is in the analysis part of the staff report. It says, the chapter became effective January 1, 2021. And the, let's see, all municipalities and county, the mandate said that, or the requirement said that all municipalities and counties update their ordinances to be compliant with it by July 1, 2021. Due to the town code update, we've chosen to postpone amending the town code to be compliant. But anything that happens outside of compliancy in the 160D must be satisfied whenever the town code conflicts. So, I mean, that's kind of our CYA in all of this, is that if we happen to neglect to do the right thing in 160D, language takes precedent over. I'm assuming that's what would happen to it. Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions of Cliff as far as, how this works and what we need to do to go forward with this? Because I'm assuming that we are going to vote to send this to town council for their approval with a few noted queries here. So anybody else have anything that? Robert, yeah.
You guys have brought up several individual things that the council has passed. It's not reflected in this
Yeah.
version. Are we expected to go through and point all of those out?
No, once again, I mean, Jan picked up, the produce stand that
The ceiling height,
the top plate height.
Top plate,
open slide
yeah,
decks.
yeah.
There's several things that can
Mhm.
pass, just since I.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that Wes needs to be aware of scouring over it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think what the request is to make the change to be compliant with 160.
Yeah.
Other issues or things that we can address and make sure
Mhm.
they're aligned.
Yeah.
And report back.
Yeah.
I don't know that they necessarily have to be part of this motion to adopt.
Yeah.
But those are things we have to clarify and make sure that we're aligned.
Okay. Well, to answer you, Robert, I think that what we are doing tonight, I mean, it's 137 pages. I haven't looked at every sentence in there, but I've scoured over fairly good and found a few things. But I think we're recommending that we adhere to what special use as it's defined, that definition on page 14 is the biggest add-on. So, and then changing conditional to special on, 50 more pages or 50 more sentences. So,
It seems appropriate that we move to compliance with 160D.
yeah, with noted changes tonight.
It's not that the planning board is blessing this document and saying we're adopting.
Right, yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Well, I would entertain a motion to recommend to town council that ZTA 2207 would be our recommendation to pass that, maybe not so as written, but as noted changes tonight?
Yeah.
Subject to clarification
Exactly, there you go.
and the finding of consistency with the land use plan.
Okay. Anybody want to make that motion? Go ahead.
Andy,
Yes.
and I don't know if it's appropriate now or at the end when you ask for planning board member comments, but, and I don't know if it's something that should be put into this land use. Should we be thinking, now that we have commercial and multi-development going on, and we know that there's, 4 sites to do that, should we be thinking that maybe we should be looking at the aesthetic appearance of our future commercial multifamily areas as far as what we would like them to look like before they get constructed? And again, is that somebody that we hire and come in and look at where we are and where we want to be before this development, is fully engaged upon? We have some renovation going on at the shopping center. And, do we want a certain look of the way Southern Shore should be? And I don't know where that comes in, but is that something that, we should be looking at?
I think from a personal standpoint, we got to be proactive. But as far as how we govern aesthetics, it's been a long time employee of Nag's Head, and they've done a reasonably good job of hitting on it. But I mean, Cliff, you want to take this?
Well, I think it's part of that, it would include itself in the land use plan update, I think.
In other words, we should be putting something here before we approve this?
No,
No,
I don't think it applies to this.
I wouldn't either, but
okay.
That opportunity exists. I've heard in the 2 years I've been here, it's been brought up. There's a process you can go through that, but I don't think it applies here.
yeah. I mean, we have, in residential, all things residential, 58 sets of covenants. So it's kind of hard to chase down aesthetics, but so much, and it's not our responsibility as a town, it's the civic associations.
But what about the commercial areas? So the
Yeah.
associations,
That's something I think you can charge staff with.
To look into,
sort of,
well,
I mean, we're
Yeah.
about to face our
Mhm.
first, and maybe somebody will follow after that.
well,
So,
let's revisit that.
okay, I'm sorry.
At member comments. I'm not sure, can John make a motion as ETJ? I don't know, but
Well,
you were rolling it with it pretty good.
It pertains to the commercial areas, so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Can you vote?
Yeah, I mean,
You can vote.
I can vote on this.
then why don't you make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we forward ZTA 22-07 to the town council with a favorable recommendation, subject to clarification of those items discussed at tonight's planning board meeting. And the motion includes a finding of consistency with the land use plan.
I'll second that. Any discussion? None seen. All in favor of that motion from Mr. Finelli, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. And once again, I think Wes will clean up some of our concerns, and I mean, the intent is to move 160D along in the special use versus the old conditional use.
It may have just been a wrong time to reach out.
Could have been, yeah. Okay. Oh, and I ask you, does anybody have holes punched in that 137 pages?
No.
You do? it would be wise to hang on to this because this is almost all of our zoning chapter 36. So make sure you hang on to this so we don't have to print another 137 pages. Anyway, let's see. Scratch that off. Public comment one more time out here. You sure? Okay. Well, we are at the planning board comments. Usually I try to go last and let everybody else go first, but tonight I'm going to initiate the conversation. And I've asked Cliff to bring up an email that I sent to the mayor and all council members on June the 8th. It's up on the monitor, and I'm going to read it. And then I would like to get some input from board members. This, and to jump back, this was the night after ZTA 2206 was passed by town council on a 5-0 vote. Good morning or good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I'm writing to you in regard to last night's discussion and ultimately a motion and the vote on ZTA 2206. I spoke with Wes this morning to clarify the calculations I'm sharing with you. As you know, the planning board was strongly in favor of using the 50% lot coverage or 55% for pervious pavement for the proposed mixed-use group development put forth by Gengite LLC. The planning board also advocated for that same lot coverage to be calculated using net parcel area, which would not include, quote, any area covered by waterways, marshes, or wetlands, end quote. At our May planning board meeting and again last night, Sumit Gupta told us that he would be willing to accept the 50% or 55% for pervious allowance total lot coverage, as well as the dimensional requirements the planning board recommended. However, he stressed that he would only agree to this if the net parcel area were removed from PB ZTA 2206 recommendations. And I didn't include all the recommendations that we made as planning board. The Saga parcel that is the impetus of this mixed use concept for our town is listed at 5.2 acres, which includes more than an acre of marsh and wetlands. The gross area of that 5.2 acres equals 226,516 square feet. Assuming full use of the gross parcel with the 67% lot coverage for pervious pavement, a hard structure footprint of 151,763 square feet is attainable based on the town council action last night. Conversely, Mr. Gupta was amenable to accepting a 55% lot coverage with the pervious pavement allowance of the gross parcel, using the same gross parcel area of 226,512 square feet at the 55% allowance that Mr. Gupta publicly stated would work for his business model, produces a hard structure footprint of 124,581 square feet. The 12% increase in allowable hard structure lot coverage equals 27,182 square feet more hard structure coverage than what the applicant was willing to accept. Given the fragility of this particular parcel and the gateway into our town, I feel we have strayed from our founder's original vision of Southern Shores, which speaks to, quote, land use that naturally protects environmental resources and fragile areas by limiting development and growth, end quote. No member of the planning board is against incremental, thoughtful growth and development. All of our board members are in favor of the mixed-use concept. We will continue to work diligently to be protective of the density of both structure and population in our town without being overly restricted. But sometimes less is more. Allowing 27,182 square feet of lot coverage over and beyond what the applicant stated he would accept is a giveaway I find hard to reckon with. Sometimes less is more. Sincerely, Andy Ward. And then a week later, having received no response from any member of town council, I wrote them back again, and I copied all of you all on what I just read, and Cliff and Wes. And on Tuesday, June 14th, I replied back. It was almost a week, 6 days, with the header reply with a question mark. So, to Elizabeth and council members, last Wednesday, I sent you all an email regarding town council action on ZTA 2206. At the minimum, I would have expected an acknowledgement that you received my email. As of yet, not a single reply. Respect should not get in the way of different viewpoints. Hopefully, you all afford other citizens a more timely response with their concerns. Sincerely, Andy. Update. I have spoken to Elizabeth at some length, and I've gotten meager response from, or zero response from the other council members. So I'm not trying to, sit up here and create a controversy, but personally, I think that there is a bit of disconnect between the last two ZTAs that concerned raw lot coverage between us and town council. And I would like to, and Elizabeth and I agreed that we should bring the two boards together and have a workshop and a discussion about how to, rectify this. But I know from talking to other planning board members that they're a little disappointed as well. So I'll finish my planning board member comment, and I'll be glad to hear from anybody else that wants to address this or anything else.
Well, I also sent, I was spoken to, and I got a call because I sent also an email voicing my disappointment in it. And I did get a call, and I got a call when I had 6 grandchildren. And so I didn't finish everything. And I did send an email, follow-up email the following week voicing my concerns for the last 3 decisions made on ZTAs, where I said, if you look at them individually, it doesn't mean much. But if you look at them as an aggregate, there is definitely a trend that is, I don't believe, follows. And then I sent that email, and pretty much Elizabeth is the only one that's contacted me, and pretty much nothing else other than a return email saying I don't like to use emails. I'd rather talk. So that was it. But I also voiced the same concern. I find it pretty astounding about the coverage. I spoke to an engineer who's in my family that does this. And I said, what do you use, gross or net? And he said, net. You use net for calculations, not gross. It's very rare that you use gross, because if you can't build on it, it doesn't come into play. Yeah. So, I did do a follow-up with an engineer, and they were pretty much as astounded as I. And I was going to do this in public in the comments, but I think this is something that has to be addressed. That we, as a planning board, will make a recommendation and forward it. And whether the town council goes along with our recommendation, approves or disapproves, we never find out. Wes is very good. For instance, the vegetation ordinance, first time I found out about that, I asked Wes to please send me the final ordinance because I heard the town council passed it. And he did send it to me. But we do these, and even this is ETA 2206. We did things, the town council votes on something that changes it, which is fine. That's their prerogative. That's what they do. But we don't hear about it. And we never see the final ZTA. And I think it should be all these ZTAs that we are involved with, we should get the final ZTA sent to us as members of the planning board. Because we don't know. We find out through Wes, who's great. You ask Wes, and Wes tells you and sends it to you. But I think that's something, Cliff, that should be considered when we send a recommendation. And whether they approve it or not, that's not the issue. Is we never see it again. And I think we should see their final ZTA. That's what I have to say.
Jane?
Okay, and again, I apologize for my ignorance. But on page 101, under the mixed-use development, commercial and residential buildings, it is calculated, the 40% lot coverage of the net parcel area. So, I mean, it was always, and this is mixed use for commercial. And so it appears that it was originally calculated as the net parcel.
For us, our suggestion was 50% or 55% coverage of the net. And Mr. Gupta, at our planning board meeting, sat right up there and said,
Yeah, he would
he
agree.
could, it was a double hit. If you watch the YouTube, it was a double hit that we were only allowing 50 rather than he wanted 60 or 67%. But he said it at the 2 hour and 14 minute mark of our YouTube, or the meeting of our YouTube of our meeting. And
So we exceeded the 40 because of the development and went to the 50, and he agreed to the 50 or 55, but he's asking for more.
he agreed to the,
But he wants the gross.
he agreed to the 67, which is
The gross.
what he ultimately got of the gross,
Gross,
not the
yeah.
net,
Right,
which equates to over 27,000 square
right,
feet
right.
more hard structure
Right.
on that piece of property.
Right. Right.
But that's, I mean, we need to, I think Elizabeth was wise in suggesting that we need to get together in a workshop. I mean, it would be a public meeting, anybody can come, but their members and our members need to get together and talk, because, it's festering a little bit. I've had different people ask me about what happened, and, I'm scratching my head, but, and disappointed. I mean, we can't expect everything that we recommend to go through. I mean, but I think our expectations as a board is to, rather than get hopped over to make a decision.
But I think we need to understand our relevance
Yeah.
process.
Absolutely.
And if we get nothing back from the town council except maybe just a perfunctory from Elizabeth,
Mhm.
that tells a lot. It really says that our relevance to them is pretty
That-
modest.
That's what I feel, and that's where we need to get it out in front, and we can address it, and maybe it all works out better in the end. I think it will. But we just-
Who's the gatekeeper of the land use plan?
well, and that's coming up.
Right, so-
Yeah.
Cliff speak to the land, to the CAMA land use plan.
RFPs out there it's not dissimilar to the town code update. Get a consultant that'll kind of walk us through it. The staff's gonna, and a consultant will take a lead in that process.
And it's out for bid right now, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah,
So we can have a big input on that.
sure. But we want to feel like that
It means
we're,
something.
yeah, I mean, we've devoted a lot of time to the two ZTAs that, you know, we just got stepped right over and anyway.
That land use plan, I just said, it depends on, the only way that's gonna be successful is if there's as much input as possible.
Oh, yeah.
From the entirety, otherwise it's.
Yeah.
It loses its validity.
Well, I mean, do you see any issue with trying to get a workshop for planning board and town council? Just not to address anything in particular, but just our concerns that we're showing tonight?
And maybe as a part of that, there could be some incorporation of how the land use plan is gonna move forward and each other's role.
Right.
But is it, would it be appropriate to add an agenda, an update from Wes on prior activities? That if we pass something, he can tell us what's happened with it, or give us an update at the council.
Just what Tony said.
Basically, what Tony and everyone's asking, just add it to the.
I think it's a standing item on the agenda,
Yeah.
Mhm.
updates from town council
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah. And I think that the Gingite LLC ZTA has been codified. Right? I mean, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, it's certainly in the codified state.
Yeah, well, it's been codified. I mean, you know, town council
Oh, yeah.
voted,
I'm sorry. I'm
but
just thinking-
I've read it. It might be on Municode
That's what I
already.
was-
Yeah, I think it's sitting on Municode. So, but Robert and Tony as well, I do think it's a good idea. Once something rolls through that we've had action on, we should receive email back saying this is what occurred at town council level.
Yeah, it's good because I try to keep the ZTAs. I have a book at home that's constantly changing. But I try to keep them, and if I don't get them, I can't update, on the planning board, I can't even update my own book. So that's why I think it's a good idea. Like I said, Wes sent me the trash, which was great, because I didn't know what was going on with that either, you know? I just think it's a good idea that we know and see the final result. Because it also helps us to guide us in the future. So this isn't just curiosity and keeping up. It gives us trends and how things are going. And it gives us a better idea. So I just think that that's something that should be done.
Okay, any other comments?
No. I just want to say, I did appreciate Elizabeth calling. You know, I don't want to minimize that. I do appreciate.
And me as well.
Yeah, the phone call, and it's just, out of all the ZTAs we've sat up here, the two I've heard the most feedback back is this one, 06, and the trash one, from citizens. You know, where people say, what's going on, or what is this? So it's kind of interesting that these two, for some reason, have real nerve, I think, with a lot of people.
Anyone else? Comments? John?
While we were debating this, I expressed some concerns on behalf of Martins Point residents. The planning board members taking that into consideration.
Yeah. Well, your whole, in the minutes, it's all in there. And, you know, you have a big stake at what happens down in that. ZTA that we were supposed to look at tonight. And John's all for helping out the cause too, but a lot of holes there that need to get plugged before we can move on with, group home setting type thing. Quite sure shared, bedroom space, but yeah, when that comes back around, I would implore everyone to study up on it and have a nice list of questions and concerns, because there's a lot there. I think Wes sent you something from Chippewa Falls. Did you see that? Well, if you want to open your eyes a little bit more on rules and regulations, I'm not saying that we should go this route, but Charlotte Muni Code, Chapter 11, housing, plugs a lot of holes, a lot of holes, way more than Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin does. So, I mean, it's worth a look at. I mean, it's a little over the top maybe, but because it is Charlotte.
Right.
We're not Charlotte, but at the same time, there are some valid points. Okay, well, talk that to death. No more comments, anybody?
I'm just gonna ask Cliff, anything new with the marketplace demo construction?
The permits were issued last week, both Marshalls and Raccoon, it was about a $22,000 permit. But that is just moving forward. I'm sorry, I don't have more of an update than permits have been issued for construction.
Big hole out there.
I'll tell you.
Cliff, do you have any announcements? Oh,
Sorry. Back to what Jan was asking about before. Do our municipalities in 160D, are they allowed to dictate architectural review?
Design standards are permitted. Yeah, and I think, wasn't that one that was on the June agenda? Weren't you gonna talk about commercial design standards at one point?
no, I don't remember seeing anything coming through the planning stage. I mean, back when we were looking at Marshall's, the initial from Ashton Properties, what, a year ago maybe, we did look into it and basically felt like there wasn't much we could do aesthetically with their addition.
Right.
But beyond that, I don't remember anything aesthetics.
I read a good deal about what HOAs are allowed to do as far as architectural review committees and things like that. I didn't know if municipalities were allowed to, and if they are, what is the function, or what is the process that they have to go through? Do they have to have an architectural review board? How do they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reviewed by the planning board and then, approved by the town council as written in the town code. And so, I mean, there could be design elements that points, that you achieve if you do this, you get that, or it could just be.
And y'all did a lot of that in Nags Head,
Yeah, I mean, there was.
residential and commercial. So is that something that we'd like to get on the agenda? I think so.
I think residential's more of a challenge. I think you can do stuff commercial.
Yeah, commercial, sure. Yeah, residential, like I said, 58 sets of covenants. And the town doesn't regulate covenants, so.
They stopped enforcing, I know the civic associations pretty much stopped enforcing what you could build with, what materials you could use, et cetera. I don't know whether Chickahook is still utilizing that. I know Chickahook was much stricter than the civic association, but,
But residential probably is what we'd be interested in anyway.
yeah.
Commercial.
I mean, commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, commercial. Well, I will make a note to, and if you'll mention that to Wes too, we will explore commercial aesthetics and what we may and may not be able to do as a town moving forward. I think, what's going on at the marketplace is just unfortunately more of the same, but not much we could do in that realm, so. Okay, so our next meeting is August 15th. Potentially, we'll look at ZTA 2209 from, it's a group fitness from Atlantic Dance. Did everybody have a look at that? That would be on
Yeah.
our agenda for next month, and that's all I know. Do you have anything, Cliff?
No, that, the Pledge of Palace.
Mm-hmm.
all where-
Okay. Well, we'll just see where that plays out.
Where's the dance thing going to be?
I'm not sure. Is it
It doesn't give
Southern
an
Shores
address.
Crossing? I mean, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
for us. It's-
It's another one of those, it's not site specific.
Yeah.
But you might as well.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
10 seconds. All in favor, aye?
Uh,
Opposed? No?
might be the-
Thank you all.